2019 to 2024, it was fucking out of control. It was to the point where I didn't want to live another day. I didn't want to live another minute or another day, let alone another year. So as you know from my previous videos, I got to the point where I was suicidal for a continuous 5 straight years, every second, every minute, every hour of every day. I didn't catch a break. There was not 1 second of any of my days with that period of time that I wasn't contemplating, planning, wondering if I was going to make it through the day, or was there going to be a part of me that was just going to kill myself with the gun, the pills, or the knife. So now that I'm on the other side of depression, I got through it. My goal, my mission is to share some things with you that could possibly ease your pain, ease your depression, make your life better, and possibly even get you completely out of it. Now, as I always say, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a fucking shrink. I'm not a licensed psychologist. I'm none of that stuff. There's no titles I can give myself to call myself a professional. But what I do have is raw experience. I call it fucking grit. I tried everything out there. I tried the procedures, the protocols, the pills, I took ketamine, all of it. You name it, I've done it. Nothing worked. It got to the point where I was feeling like shit and everything I was trying didn't work, so it made it that much worse. I got through it. I found ways to cure, I call it a cure. I cured my depression. Now, there's some people out there that may argue with that. I am fucking depression free. I'm anxiety free. I'm taking 0 pills. I went from taking over 20 to 30 medications to taking 0 pills. I was prescribed a CPAP machine because of my nighttime anxiety. They thought I had sleep apnea. No more machines. I'm not seeing any doctors. I literally, on record, call myself depression-free, cured from major depression and severe anxiety and constant suicidal ideation. All that shit's gone. So I know what I did to get through it, to get to the side, to get through it and get to the other side of it where I'm at now. My goal, my mission, my quest is to get with guys like Dr. Huberman, who has the lab out in California, the neuroscientist. I'd love to get to Huberman Labs to find out what my brain actually went through, because everything we do is contingent upon our brain. I believe wholeheartedly, and nobody can tell me differently, I literally rewired my brain. Neuroplasticity is a real thing. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about neuroplasticity. A lot of these guys do. I'm a firm believer, 1000%. I literally rewired my brain. To go from where I was to where I am, it had to take a major shift, not only in a mindset, but I know physically a neurological change as well. I had a supernatural transformation, undoubtedly. So I have my notes in front of me here. I made some notes on the other side of depression. I had to ask myself, what do I really want? What do I really want? And it wasn't anything materialistic. What I really wanted was to be relieved of the fucking pain and suffering that I was going through. And what I realized was emotional pain, physical pain, all that pain was part of a subconscious set of choices that I made to put my ass in that situation. I fully admit to that. I take full responsibility of that. And I've said this before, obviously they weren't conscious choices. They were subconscious choices. Subconscious choices made from a default system that I adapted and adopted to going way back. I mean, we all learn, our parents are our first teachers of life, correct? So if we're learning things at a subconscious level, that we take those things that we learn into adulthood and we continue to practice those things throughout our lifetime, we become very good at doing those things, even though a lot of times those things are not good for us. So what I really wanted, and I have it right here in my notes, was emotional freedom. Because I thought I wanted everything the materialistic world had to offer. You name it, the money, the cars, the houses, the women. And every time I conquered the chase, you could say, I always felt I was coming up short. Like it was never enough. Never. My brain is a movie mind. I have a movie mind brain. In other words, when I became very good at this, I could imagine something as if it was an Oscar nominated or award-winning movie. My mind was that good at fucking with me, tricking me to believe that when I achieved that thing, it was going to be euphoria. It was going to be bliss. And I fell for it. Even though I kept coming up short, there's something in my brain that kept having me chase the next thing, and with the illusion that it was going to be better than the last time. Never was. It was never ever as good as my imagination made it out to be. And I relate it to the book. I've read a few books. I listen to a lot more than I read, but I have read a few books. And I remember as a kid reading a couple books. And then I go see the movie, and the movie was never as good as the book. And the older I got, that never changed. That pretty much stayed the same. And what I've come to realize from my personal experience is that my mind is so good at creating an imaginary life that even in the books I've read, my mind got carried away and imagined all these things and how cool it was going to be, that my mind was always better than that movie. Now, I'm not saying all the movies I've seen were bad, but every time I've read a book and then gone to see the movie, the book was always better than the movie. So my life became a series of movies or events that I portrayed as being, I guess you'd say, perfect, the perfect ideal life. A perfectionist mindset, a perfectionist brain who had an illusionary life. So my notes that I took for you guys is that what I wanted was emotional freedom. And I wanted to be free from the attachment to negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Because what I realized, being attached to those negative thoughts, feelings, emotions, was keeping me in a constant state of depression, anxiety, fear, worry, negativity. Nothing good was coming out of it. So I wrote this down, and I want to read this. I realized everything I was experiencing in life could always be traced back to my thoughts. My thoughts are always producing a feeling, and everything we do as human beings is always predicated on our feelings. right? So if you think about it, from the phone case you have, to the toothpaste you use, to where you spend your vacations, to the car you drive, to the person you're married to, and everything in between is based on how you feel about that person, place, or thing. Think about that. You buy a phone case, why? Because the color feels good to you. You go on vacation because you feel that's going to be a great vacation. You marry that person because you feel they're the one for you. They're the one, right? You drive that car because you feel that either that car is what you can afford, that car is in your budget, that car makes you feel a certain way. So I'm going to read what I have here. I don't want to miss anything. So what I learned, first of all, is that I had to start observing my feelings. Now, I'm going to call this a non-judgmental observation because I'm very hard on myself, very critical of myself. And I guess you could say at certain times others too, right? It has to be a certain way. So my thoughts are being observed without being judged. So I started observing my thoughts, and what I realized, I wrote this verbatim, listen, and what I realized, I was literally attached to outcomes and expectations of every situation in life. Everything I experienced in life, I was expecting a certain outcome. I was expecting the way it should be. And again, let's go back to what I said earlier. Nothing was ever good enough. Nothing was ever good enough. Nothing ever matched the expectations I had in my mind, including myself. So that was pretty, as fucked up as that was, it was very, very enlightening to realize that, because what I realized, I was emotionally deficient. And when you're emotionally deficient, you expect people, places, and things to fill that void, which logically we all know is impossible, right? Look at here. But when I was deep into that mindset, I failed to realize that those emotional deficiencies were also creating a life addicted to emotional dependencies. Now, for me, drugs was never a problem. I never got hooked on the drugs. But people say, obviously, there's sex, there's alcohol, gambling, not so much, complacency, yes, work, yes, validation, yes. You name the cocktail you're addicted to, and you'll realize that that addiction is part of an emotional deficiency. So when you're not feeling complete as a person, what do? We more times than not reach outwardly. We try to seek something, the pleasure, the happiness outside of ourself. We got to realize that's being driven by an internal void, trying to fill something inside of it, trying to fill a void inside of us by reaching outside of us, ourselves. That created a lot of my depression. Can you imagine? Maybe you can. Maybe maybe I'm talking to somebody who has this in the same situation, and that everything in life has to be a dope hit. You got to have a hit. I needed a hit. Whether from the restaurant I went to, the car I drove, to the person I was seeing, to the job I had, to the money I was making, it was a lifestyle of continuous dope hits, a drip of dopamine that never could satiate. It could never, I was never satisfied. So you're going through life trying to find something outside of yourself. Nothing is matched up to the expectations or outcomes you expect it to have or hope to have, but yet you keep trying. You know what it's like? It's like that fucking dog, the greyhound at the track. You know how those greyhounds are trained to chase that rabbit around the track, the mechanical rabbit? Those dogs have no idea that they'll never catch that rabbit, but they still try. They're trained, they're programmed to continue to try to chase that rabbit. That's how my life was. I was programmed to try to find happiness, joy, fulfillment outside of myself in everything that I did in life, and nothing ever satisfied or scratched that itch. So don't you think that would lead to depression? Don't you think that would be a complete mind fuck that would put you into a downward spiral eventually? Because I set my life up to have things in place. You kind of manipulate life to go your way, right? And then you set it up, and then it's almost like whack-a-mole. When that one thing's out of place, you pound it to try to get it back. You're working so hard to put it back, to put everything back in place. You're constantly striving to have things lined up to make yourself feel fleeting, temporary moments of happiness. And it's never really satisfying. You're always wanting more. And the things you think you're in control of have complete control over you, because look how hard you're working to keep those things in place. You're not in control of that situation that you think you're in control of. That situation has control over you. If you're drinking every day, you're not in control of your drinking. That situation is controlling you. When I was drinking Buffalo Trace with Verner's ginger ale and a squeeze of lime every day with a 6-pack of beer, that substance was controlling me. That was something that was controlling me. The alcohol, I wasn't in control of the alcohol. I thought I was, but there was days that I didn't feel like drinking physically, but the brain says I need more. You need to have a drink today. Just do it. I don't feel like it. Yeah, just go ahead, have one. You'll feel better after you pour that drink. And you feel like shit the next day because you're 6 or 7 drinks in. The next day you wake up and say, what the fuck did I do? I didn't want to drink, but there's such a strong pull that got you to pour those drinks that you had no control over. So it got to the point back in 2017, December of 17, that I got to the point, I said no more. I really had to, I literally got to the point, I looked at my son, who was 3 years old at the time. I looked at the bottle and said, this drinking has to go. And I stopped, cold turkey. But it took that type of power to overpower the power that alcohol had over me. So on the other side of depression, as I started this video off saying, is you have to ask yourself, what do you really want? Because if you think, and you guys can probably hear my phone blowing up here, there's a hurricane coming through here, Hurricane Milton, and everybody's texting. Everybody who's out of state is texting to make sure we're good here down in Florida. So you ask yourself what you really want. And when you come up with an answer to that question, I hope it's more than a job another spouse, maybe different spouse or different mate or wife, husband, money, car. I really hope you understand that materialistic shit's not going to bring you long-lasting fulfillment. I will say this, I know people who appear on the outside to have happiness, and they appear to have happiness, and they're doing things that I myself find no joy or no pleasure in doing as far as work or lifestyle they're living, but they appear happy. And my thoughts are this: if it's not broke, if you can honestly look yourself in the mirror and say, "Hey, I'm good," honestly say that you're happy and you're content with the way things are, then don't mess with it. Let that, again, like I said in one of the previous videos, express gratitude. Express gratitude, because gratitude is so important. I would put gratitude on top of your list. Every morning when I wake up, I say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for the super amazing blessings of this super amazing day. Now, if you look at your brain as you would a puppy, and look at your mind as you would the puppy's trainer, your thoughts, your words, your mind is going to program your brain. Your brain is listening to everything, not only on a conscious level, also a subconscious level. And when it gets to the subconscious, that's what drives you. That's what creates habits. That's what creates a mindset. So I would say, be careful of what you're saying, because your brain is listening. When you start sitting down and doing the thought observation without judgment, I believe you're going to see some shit that you probably didn't realize before. When I sat still and quiet and really observed my thoughts, there were some fucking dark thoughts. There was some dark shit. And looking back, I can honestly say, I'm not surprised that previous mindset got my ass into severe depression, because I was living in such a bubble, not realizing the depths of how far of a hole I was digging myself into, especially when I was drinking. Because drinking just, it takes you to another level. It puts you in such fucking denial. And I clap people who can have one beer at a bar or hang out with their buddies and just have a couple of drinks and be good. Good on you. That wasn't me. No, I had to be 6 beers in before I even started drinking the Buffalo Trace. So that addictive personality at a subconscious level really fucked me into a tailspin. I'm on the other side of it now, and I want you guys to understand something. Whoever you are, wherever you are, listening to this video, watching this video, and thinking you're too far gone, please don't think that. Please don't think that. And I've said it before, and I'll continue saying it. If you had any idea of how fucking deep I was and how dark it became, and how every day I was contemplating and killing myself, standing there with the gun in the mirror, having the pills on standby, having the knife in the drawer ready to go. If you knew how bad I felt, I hope knowing that makes you feel a little bit better. And I hope it gives you more hope. I hope it gives you an ounce of hope every day to know that if I can get through it, believe me when I tell you this, if I can get through what I've been through, there's no fucking doubt that you can too. You can get your ass through it. I want to help you any way I can. So if you guys send me messages, let me know what you're struggling with. And I believe this, then I'll let you guys go. If I took my problem into a room of 10 people and put my problem on the board, do you think that those 10 people would be as fucked up as I was about that problem? No. You know why? Because I was attached to that problem. I made it a problem. My perspective created that problem. Good, bad, or indifferent, it did. It's the relationship you have with it that determines how big of a problem it is. And I'm gonna leave you with this. Every story creates an emotion. Thoughts create feelings. Feelings create a story. And our stories create our emotions. Until I see you again, I want you to put this to the test. I want you to think of an emotion you have. Okay, let's call it, here's the emotion right here. If you reverse engineer it, I promise you, over here, you're gonna have a story. Stories create emotions. You cannot have an emotion without a fucking story. You guys, everybody's blessed. Few are grateful. Stay grateful. Become grateful. And I'll see you next time.